Um,
Why don't you tell me what's going on in your life, professional wise?
Oh, please.
How's the acting going? First of all, I want to hear about acting before we get to your brands.
The obvious thing that's being pushed right now, my clothing company. Yeah, the acting is completely stagnated. Absolutely nothing. A bunch
You're not doing auditions right now?
No, I am doing auditions. Yes.
That's not stagnant, bro. Auditions are what, like 95% of your job?
That's what they say. There's no official definition of what the lifestyle of an actor pertains, but yeah, that's very true. That if you're actually auditioning a lot, that's more than most actors.
How many do you usually get a week? What's your average?
One every like week or 2 weeks, but then some weeks are like 2 or 3 in a row.
Yeah. 3 is a lot. It's a good number, there's a lot to do, but it's like, if you can keep up that kind of consistency, you're good. Like 2 or 3 a week.
Yeah. It's not usually like that pretty much ever. It'll just randomly happen that you'll get like 2 or 3 and you're just like just trying to grasp, for air, come up for air. But yeah, that's always good. I mean, I don't like the last audition I had was an animation thing, like for Nickelodeon, I think. And then the other one was
show or a movie,
TV show. And I was supposed to play like a robot, like the villain's assistant in like a robotic, or scientist sitcom type thing.
That'd be fucking dope. I've been to the Nickelodeon campus because my girlfriend used to intern for them, and it's dope, bro. Like you feel the whole. I was a Nick kid. Were you a Nick kid?
Totally, 100%. I was all of them. Actually, I was probably the least Nickelodeon. I was still a big Nickelodeon, but it wasn't as big of a Slimer. I didn't like yearn for slime.
Or were you Disney or like Cartoon Network?
My biggest things were I loved Toon Disney when I was young, and this is like early 2000s, probably even late 90s. Darkwing Duck, Gargoyles, DuckTales. Even they would play it was like Boomerang, but I loved Boomerang too, actually, like Scooby-Doo, Flintstones, Jetsons, all those things. But on Toon Disney, I could go into this for so long. Clearly you've tapped into something I'm excited about. And Toon Disney was just, they had these very niche things. The Mighty Ducks, there was like a cartoon about the Mighty Ducks. Goof Troop, which is Goofy and the whole thing. But then I was also a big Cartoon Network kid. Courage the Cowardly Dog.
All time. Yeah.
Right. And then
Courage fucked me up.
Nickelodeon. Courage was definitely, Courage was like
that theme song hit and I would get nervous. I'd be like, oh, fuck, I don't know if this is going to be, I was nervous, but excited,
It's a bold choice to make a show for kids, especially then. I feel like there was like less shows then that was like purposefully made to like freak them out.
Kids. I don't know of any show besides Courage that did that.
Not at all.
Even to this day.
There was like some cartoons, like comic book style, like Batman Beyond, I think was one that were kind of like dark and stuff, very like not anime, but kind of like that. I was a huge Dragon Ball Z kid. I wouldn't say I was an anime kid, even though, because I just love the obvious ones: Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yeah.
Whatever I just said. I'm still getting over a cold, so I'm very spacey. So with that said, bro, I completely can appreciate what you point out about like getting to do a gig on a studio lot for one, but then like
Disney. Bring that back around.
No, why not? I had an audition on Disney lot one time. It was very cool. This is the classic aspect of it. Nickelodeon would be very cool too. It's just these auditions, dude. Not to get discouraged, but we spoke with my mom spoke with her friend who's a pretty successful writer at the moment. She just told another show. And she said, like, if you don't have connections as an actor for some of these jobs, the casting people get so many submissions. They don't even necessarily find the time to look at you.
Bro, do you think your time would be better spent? Like, if you were to, like, here's a scenario. Let's say
social climb. That's the only one.
Yeah. Only
you have to figure out how to meet the producers and sleep with them. And then
Just hit the Hollywood Hills, start knocking on doors.
Literally, just go around about
get me some jobs.
Yes. Yeah. Sex trade.
Yeah, that's it.
I think that is the game. No,
if
yeah.
you glean anything from these episodes, that's what I want our viewers to take away.
Exactly.
But what I would say, bro, like I would offer this to you. Do you think that it would be a better use of your time to not audition at all? Like, even though I know you're getting really good shit, this is a hypothetical, right? But let's say you were to completely stop auditioning for everything.
Yeah.
And just start producing your writing and producing your own shit and finding a way to shoot it.
It is. But if I'm being, I like the question, but auditioning is not even preventing me from producing my own stuff in the slightest.
Okay. It doesn't take that long.
No. Self-tapes are the easiest things ever right now. If anything, it's just like the main, the side jobs that are tough to like produce your own stuff around. But in reality, no, that'll be my next step coming into it, is producing my own stuff. I hope this Valley mentality gets me some eyes on my creative prowess, gets me in the right rooms, and then acting stuff can come from there, writing stuff can come from there. But
strategy to use this clothing brand, position you in a place where you get into some doors, and then you can kind of swing into other spots.
It 100% is, among other things. I mean, I think it's so crazy. Like, it actually is a strategy. You have to get yourself into, you have to show people what you're about. So producing stuff is a way to do that, and getting views. But you got to show people what you're about. You got to get yourself.
I think, I mean, bro, this week I took this course that's on like the finances of setting up features, because it was a blind spot for me. As I was taking the course and going along, I was like, oh wait, like I actually know most of the shit. Like, it's a lot about basically like, finding talent, having money to get talent. And so it got me to this place where I was like, after the course, I'm like, yeah, like I kind of knew all that shit. Like, it's, every film is different. Like, it's called a waterfall after you sell it, as in like, DVD sales, ticket sales, clothing, merch you can get from it, whatever. It's like, I understand all this stuff, but at the end of the day, if I'm an unknown filmmaker who doesn't have a shit ton of money, who doesn't have a lot of access to talent to make these projects, then in horror, in making horror features, the only thing that I would have a cutting edge on, and that would actually give me a bump, is really solid scripts. And like, I've come to this conclusion a lot, but like, I'm even, especially after taking this course and realizing that, like, setting up features, how do you do it? Well, you find people who want to invest in films. What are they looking for? They're looking for, you have some kind of distribution already set up. How do you get distribution? You have this talent that distributors are excited about. How do you get talent? You need a lot of money to get them on board. And it ends up being this catch-22 where, like, if you're like this unknown filmmaker and you don't have those kinds of resources, how do you get out of that? And I really believe, especially for horror, where it's not as much about the talent. It's like the one genre where, you don't necessarily need, like, the best horror films, the ones that are most successful, they don't have names because people don't want to see like Angelina Jolie, because it kind of takes them out of it, And at the end of the day, it comes down to really good idea and ideas, and also the scariness of it. So like, if you have a really scary script that's really good idea, I feel like that's the one single game changer you can have as a filmmaker. Because I've done all this shit. Like, I've, done all the shorts. I've made like almost 100 shorts at this point, trying to get those views, not really happening to the level I wanted it to. So like, what do I focus on now? And I'm fully believe in that, bro, because also like the amount that it takes to actually finish good screenplays, there's a very small percentage of people that can do that. So I feel like by continuing to hammer that away, that's the one thing that I have within my control to get me elevated to that next spot.
I think so, especially for horror. I think for comedy a bit too. Comedy in the same way that if you make them laugh, then they will come.
Yep. That's the only thing people care about in comedy.
Yeah. It's pretty straightforward. And in theory, you could argue that for drama, but it's a very tough argument. But I think you keep doing that, you create the goal, and then you just keep trying different stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That's all you can do. And like, I think it will happen. You keep trying different stuff, and then you stay positive.
Yeah.
You got to get lucky a bunch. You got to get lucky a bunch of times.
Yeah.
Someone randomly blows up, then you get to maybe use them as a star in your thing.
Right. But it's like, you want a certain level of certainty as an artist in this really unpredictable industry. As in, like, what can I work on daily besides like laughing and loving and like, your mantra, which I totally believe.
Yeah, you're like psyche.
But other than that, as far as like,
you work on like doing other stuff, not caring.
yeah, right. But if we're talking strictly about like achieving goals within this industry, right?
Yeah.
People want a certain level of certainty, as in like, what's an action that they can take where they're like, I know that this is going to better myself and my career, that I can, it's this thing that I can measure. At least that's been helpful for me. So like implementing this thing of like writing 2 hours a day, knowing that having really fucking solid screenplays is like really kind of the one deciding thing that can, propel me to that next place. It's like, how do I break that up into chunks? If I write for 2 hours a day, then I'm like, I feel accomplished because I've then done, I've done that, and I know that it will bring me to this next level.
It's working also on your craft. Yeah.
Yeah.
Two things. First off, I mentioned to you, I started that new like assistant job / nanny.
Yes.
Yes. For
it's fantastic.
Yeah. For producers, they're just big Hollywood people. It's fun. I mean, I don't know. They're like, they're so nice and stuff, normal, but it's pretty cool. And like, just as a sample, they're like, hey, you've never done official coverage, but check these out. And I asked you, hey, buddy, do you have any, like, I told them I definitely love like reviewing movies and stuff. And they said, do you read scripts though? And I said, I actually, because I'm a writer too, I took it upon myself to like read a ton of scripts, and I'm blown away. I've always said this to you, that actors in some bad acting classes aren't reading scripts constantly.
Right.
It's like, why do producers and interns at agencies know more about story structure and what makes something good than an actor does? Because I think an actor should know what makes something good down to a line before they start, doing it. But that being,
and also I know, not to interrupt, but I know that I need to implement that more into because bro, I'm also writing. Why am I not reading screenplays? I'm writing screenplays.
It's one of those things. I had that same feeling. Like, I read these 2 scripts to do coverage on them, and as I was reading them, and they were good. Like, they were good. They were by writers they represent, and I'm like, whoa, like this is refreshing to read like good material. And you gave me a template to kind of have like a checklist of what to go over for coverage. And I was reminded as I was going through the script and doing the review afterwards, doing this whole thing, I was like, I love doing coverage. I'm the biggest, and ironically, it's considered such a chore for everyone that has
I hate coverage.
Yeah, but fair enough. Most do. And famously, a lot of actors like Steve McQueen wouldn't even read scripts. He would charge later in his career $1 million a script to read it. I wonder how many times he was able to pull that off.
Are you fucking kidding? Nope. For him to just sit down and read a script, it was $1 million.
First of all, his wife would screen all his scripts. She would get them from the agent. The agent would read like, all of them. Then she would read like the 4 best, and then he would.
I love how he just pushed it on his wife.
I know. Well, like, I'm curious how that dynamic was, but. Yeah, it sounds like she had some type of like excitement about it. She loved it. But with that, maybe like me too, I knew, and I think it was partly from that point of view of what I already brought up to you of like, I went to like a very cool acting program immediately, but everyone was in England, but everyone was already pretty like they had a lot of experience acting and stuff. So maybe the program, because it was a master's program, assumed we'd already had a lot of experience storytelling and understanding. And I grew up loving movies and loving stories and reading a lot, but I didn't really learn intense about literature, about analyzing character, analyzing, what high stakes are and why you care about this world, what makes something interesting and rich and everything. And I knew that instinctively, but I didn't know how to really articulate that and stuff, like intentionally. So from that standpoint, and from being like, I'm missing something in acting and just my imagination and creative stuff, I like just threw myself in writing into reading tons of scripts and stuff all the time. And I loved it and stuff. So, and now even more like doing like coverage, I'm like, and I brought up to you in the past, like, should I work as an intern at like an agency just to get closer to the industry and stuff? And I know you have to do a lot of coverage. Like I would like that. So far, famous last words, I read 2 scripts, but like, I love breaking them down and, analyzing these characters and seeing like, oh, wow, this dialogue for this type of story, for this action thing that takes place in the Middle East and stuff, this kind of feels different than anything I've seen on that subject matter. And it actually seems like what these real people would be doing and talking about in that moment. And, for this type of setup, what we're used to seeing, I feel like this is hitting all the beats really well, but then also doing like just eloquent little twists and stuff. Like, I love producing. I love the structure. I love seeing what can work and what doesn't. And then also recognizing that like maybe that genre might not be my favorite and something could succeed even when I don't know what does well in that genre that much too. So I think it's an interesting place to learn and to like go over. So that was cool.
Dude, I'm fucking jealous of your appetite for this shit, bro, because I wish I had that kind of enthusiasm when it comes to reading scripts. And you're right. The thing is that you're right. You're 100% correct.
Okay.
Even like Stephen King is
righteously. So I watch when I have to read actual bad scripts.
Right. That might switch it up. Yeah.
But go on.
Like Stephen King's like, you can't be a good writer unless you're a voracious reader. And I agree with that. And if I were to do this, I would like look up the best 10 horror scripts. So I would know I'm not getting shit, but I've just never been like a huge reader. I know I probably should. I could probably start doing like a once a week type thing. But yeah, bro, your enthusiasm for this shit, I'm like, keep on that, bro, because that will carry you, And it's funny to me also that like you haven't done official coverage only because like I know you've been outside this system and you've been, you've done the waiter thing and all this stuff. I've been like doing the corporate production company thing for like 8 years from being an intern and all this shit. So like, yeah, I've had
the different like views are cool. Yeah.
Totally. These are like the 2 options. You could also probably, be on sets and stuff as like a PA or whatever. But like for the most part, that's what people do when they come out here is like either they do the corporate thing, they do the waiter, nanny type shit, or they're on set.
It's astounding. That's even more why I love going over this with you and having this that we could talk about weekly, because the amount of times I've had conversations with people kind of like you in the sense of like coming from the corporate film route of like, I'm like, they're like, oh, just working at this production company, like marketing or whatever. And I'm like, I'm always fascinated. I'm like, I guess also for normal business too. I'm always like, it's boring for them. And I'm like, no, really? Like, I'm like, what are your day to day? And they're like, oh, just I have to like read everything that comes in and like, at A24. And I was like, good God, like what is please tell me what is like making the cut there? Like, I'd love to hear more. And they're like, it's just like typical stuff. The boss is crazy. And I'm like, no, I don't freaking know. And it like, there was a certain point where I was like coming up and I was like, how is this stuff only, first of all, it's hated on by the select few that are getting to do it.
Right.
It's considered bitch work. Yet I feel that those writers and producers are better creators than 90% of the people that I see in acting classes.
Yep.
People that are teaching, than the people even in writing classes and stuff, in those writing seminars. It's like doing a lot of work and being part of the system, bad or good. There's a lot of bad to it. It does infuse you with like intelligence. And
Yes.
Bob Iger got that. You know, he didn't even come from a creative background when he became the Disney CEO, but he was introduced to the biggest writers and producers of, you know, that time. And they said, all you got to do, read a ton of scripts, buddy, and use your instincts about it. And that was it. And then he ended up greenlighting some of like the most successful things. And
I'd be curious if you have the same attitude, like if you were to get in one of those positions after, like if we were to have this conversation again, like a year after, only because that is the exact right attitude that you need. It's so hard to retain that, though, if you lose sight of like why you're there in the first place. Like if you were to go in and you were to be like, I'm an actor and this is to learn and infuse myself with knowledge and stuff, you would.
From a sense of appreciation. Yeah,
bro. That's the right attitude to have. And the thing is, if I were to get into Blumhouse now as like my corporate day job type thing, my experience would be vastly different, only because when I was there, I knew that I liked horror, but I was like, oh, like I'll get into development. And I didn't even really know what that meant. And I like didn't like reading scripts, but which is what people in development do. So like that I wouldn't have done well in development at all. But like, I think you just have to keep in mind like that super clear vision of what you want for your life and then how it applies.
You can do that for everything. I can't imagine being an agent and that is required to read 4 or 5 scripts on a weekend, every weekend and stuff. That doesn't sound fun for me. I also don't know, even though it'd be like, I enjoy it now, I don't know being a professional reviewer, whether I'd really like to do that. I mean, each subgenre, once you go in that profession, has its own, you know, blessings and curses, so to speak. And it's tough once you do it. But that being said, I think reading a lot of scripts is good for everyone. I think it's good for like all walks of life to like really understand what a story compartment like is made up of. You know, what happens in this situation when these people are put together and say this stuff together, you know, like, and is that on par with what you as the reader think is going to happen? And I, even more as I'm reading these things, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I'm fascinated what the choices are going to be when they turn this into a movie and stuff. And imagine a lifetime of doing that. It sounds dope in a lot of respects.
I love having physical hard copies of the scripts. Being able to like if I were to print out, and bro, you are getting me excited about this shit, which I really appreciate. Cause even like a couple of days ago, I had that thought of like, bro, you really should, you know, you're doing all this writing. You really should be reading more scripts. But I like having it in my hands and being able to circle things. And you have like I
think I know why. It's an age-old art process, this film industry, not that old, but the fact that you're doing the same stuff physically that they were doing in the 50s in the golden age of film and everything, getting a blank script and a writer just put their heart and soul into it. You get to see the genesis of it before it gets turned into a movie is very luxurious. It's amazing.
Totally. And it makes it feel like more real.
Totally. You're in the big leagues when you're doing that.
That's it, bro.
Yeah.
What I want, I don't know if you've ever seen these things, but they're in like agencies and production companies, whatever. You print out a script and then you put it in this machine that like binds the spine of it. Bro, that shit, I would be fucking made, bro.
That's satisfying. It comes together. You're just like, it is official now.
That's it.
Real Hollywood story. Oh, I was going to say something else. I forgot. Oh, well, continue.
You're so right. In order to, and also like a lot of times when you watch movies and stuff, you know, you can see it's like, it's harder to kind of pick things apart. Like when you have the script in front of you, if you were to watch a movie and you see an actor's performance, and then you can go to the script and kind of compare the two things and be like, how would I play it? Like that's then you're doing the work that actor did, you know?
My gosh, man. One of the best things in that good acting class I was in was they would have these things once a month where you would, it was called like a script project or something. And they would say, take a scene from a movie that you like, a performance that you like, and you have to watch it and go play by play, beat by beat, and draw up the script and like write it, do the dialogue closest to how it came out. And once you do that, then you compare the performance You reverse engineer and you see what on the page they did to get to that performance. And then you try to like perform it. And when you first start it, you're like so nervous. You're like, oh, so am I doing an impression of them to the teacher? Or am I trying to act into my own version? Everyone's like all noble. And there's so many douchey conversations about, well, what is a performance and what is an impression? And how did they get there? And at the end of the day, the teacher, smart one, was like, he's like, it doesn't matter. The point is, this is an exercise. You can try to do an impression. How about that? Let's see where you get with that. And the point is, in this class, like, you acted so much, it wasn't precious at all. I was like, try to do an impression. Now try doing it the opposite of how that actor did it. But the point is, you're going through this process of seeing the page to the screen, to the performance, to all these things, so that, I'm sorry, like, that's what you do when you take a script and you perform it. And then but there's a large amount of time when you first start out performing that you're working on bad material, you're working on strange material, or you're getting like one line here, one line there, and you're not working on stuff that you see like from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia that inspired you to act in the first place.
That's, dude. Yeah.
So getting able to like just throw that in is like so smart.
That's real. There's this WGA library. Have you heard of that?
I've wanted to go for so long. They like weren't open,
bro. Yeah, that's the thing. They're only open like Tuesday to Thursday until like 6.
Like, yeah.
It's like great,
Yeah.
Also, you can't even like check out things.
No, it's bollocks. You can't take the scripts out. Like, who do they think they are? Yeah. So now there's just a bunch of like wannabe writers just sitting around like, hey, how you doing? I'm reading Casablanca. No, I want Casablanca. I'm reading Gladiator. It's like, but trust me, dude, I want to go so bad and take the Social Network or the original Social Network or Amadeus or, to go down the list, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. I mean, it's perplexing how there hasn't been a store that's come out and said, like, we have the script database. You can get any script. Like,
dude, I know scripts are.
Should we start that? Should we try to figure out how to do that? Let's copyright
a side business.
Yeah, literally. I'd want to do that business. I would love getting my hands on all these scripts and approaching all these people and being like, yeah, we want to sell it. These things should be open to the public to read.
Mm-hmm. It's true. Yeah. If I look up like screenplays, you find some websites that then they're in like weird formats. And you're like,
trust me, I've done all of them. Yeah. It's like the car dealership world in a lot of industries. It's like how has it gone on for this long without being a little more straightforward? I think these guilds have something to do with it. They make it very a black market of scripts.
Who does?
The Writers Guild.
Oh yeah.
They're
they got their library and you can't leave the library and they're open for 2 hours every week.
Falls by the wayside. 2 hours every week if they're open at all. The pandemic, they weren't even open. Yeah.
I know, bro. I looked them up it's so funny that you know about these guys and the fact that they're never fucking open. And it's a great idea, but like they're never open.
I know. But maybe we should go sometime. That'd be dope.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, I need to figure out. Maybe I should hit up some like people I've met a few times at agency, like assistants or whatever. I'm sure they could help with like giving scripts or,
Yeah, for new ones, of course. But
I want to stick to like these are the creme de la creme,
I'd love to read some great, stuff that I haven't gone to. I started reading Quentin Tarantino's first nonfiction book, Cinema Speculation.
How's that?
It's cool. It's cool. It's definitely not bad. I don't know if it's revolutionary. Basically, the setup of the book is he gives a little forward about what influenced him to like be so into movies and stuff. He talks about how when he was a kid, his stepdad and his mom would take him to very adult movies. Shocker. And he was always obsessed with, the black exploitation movie movement, a lot of action movies and all this stuff. And then each chapter of the book goes into analysis on specific movies that weren't necessarily the best movies, but like he just goes ham in these like Steve McQueen movies, Deliverance, Burt Reynolds, all these things and what they were influenced by and all these other stuff. It's dope. As a filmmaker, I recommend it, and he's like a fun writer to go through. But I have the audiobook and the physical book. So like I look at the physical book, but then when I'm driving, I do the audiobook, and it's pretty damn entertaining. And I have all these new movies that I can check out. So I'm kind of excited about that. I don't know if it's exactly my taste of movies based off what he's doing, but I also, from the same standpoint, sorry, I'm going on, want to, before, like the books or the movies that I haven't seen that he mentions that he's going to do chapters on, I want to watch the movie first and then see his analysis and see if I agree.
Yeah, that'd be dope.
Yeah.
It was crazy, bro. Just thinking about Tarantino when he was working at that video store and he was trying to make his first movie, like from 26 to 29, he was trying to like film this thing. They're still using film at that time. And he then realized when they processed the footage, he just barely had enough money to process it. He was like, wow, this is shit. Like nothing here. And then he had to start all over and do the thing. Like, it's really, bro, it's, again, I'm glad we're recording this shit because it's going to be really rewarding to look back at these two guys, like at the start, and just see like how it kind of progresses,
100%.
What I want to say, like, so many people want this, like actor, director, like they're like, oh yeah, like I would love to do that. So many people would love to be able to do this. The fact that we're actually in pursuit of it and we're on the path
and in the arena,
that's big. Yeah,
100%, man. It's so big, and having this record of this is pretty astounding too. I mean, I'm a little jealous that Matthew McConaughey like took all those diary notes that he was able to turn into green lights, because it's like those moments are amazing. I know I'll forget so much stuff, so I think this is a cool little diary thing.
I didn't know from his diary. That's dope.
He literally kept a diary since he was like 18.
Wow.
That being said, dude, I just watched. Now it's getting into the holiday season. I mean, it's not very far, but I just watched that movie, The Holiday, part of it. You ever see The Holiday?
No. Is that like a feel-good Christmas kind of thing?
Insane. I guess if it's not The Exorcist Christmas special, yeah, Exorcist 10 Christmas Deluxe Edition. You're not gonna dive into it, which would be a fun.
I mean, my recommendation this week is a horror movie, but go ahead.
Okay, I'm into it. I'm ready.
So it's a feel-good movie isn't it with that girl from Game of Thrones?
Far from it. No, but I don't know, maybe Cersei. This is Nancy Meyers, who's like done all these like very sophisticated rom-coms. I
love her stuff.
Concept. Yeah, dude. I think she started with like The Parent Trap. She I'm sure she did stuff before that, but just like the most like charming movies, of all time. And not of all time, but just such charming movies. And this one, I don't know if it was the biggest hit, but it's got like it's just aged well in the last 20 years. Like people love it. And
that's crazy.
It is. I guess it's so funny now. I was just thinking about that. I don't think it's crazy at all that he would like want to do a more serious role, but
around the time of School of Rock, right?
Totally. He's that young. And it's about two women, Cameron Diaz, who's like an overworked film business gal that owns her own editing house, and a writing, like a copyright person in England, Kate Winslet, who's also overworked, and they both have horrible breakups, and they house swap during the holiday, and they both find love and a lovely life in that process. And her movies are so specific, and detailed with the people that she chooses to do the story on and the worlds, and she obviously seems like she knows a lot about her subjects, and I'm sure they're part of her, like every single thing that she does. And she also did Something's Gotta Give with Jack Nicholson and Diane Keaton. Yeah. Delightful movie, right? Keanu Reeves was a fun, hunk doctor. And they're just always very specific and charming and fun. And some of them haven't done as well and stuff. But anyway, The Holiday, I watched that and I'm like, speaking of which, I'm like, damn, I would love to audition for something like that. Like, I would love to read that script. Like that, it's just when you read something like that, you're like, whoa, this is holding a mirror to interesting life, you know?
You should look up that script. Get your hands on that.
Good point. Maybe the WGA.
Hey, I'll see you at the library. Yeah.
The wee hours.
Bro, I remember this because I just looked it up. I remember that VCR like cover in my parents' house.
Yeah. It's one of those.
Yeah.
By the way, let's tag out in 2 minutes if you don't mind. I gotta go.
Bro, we're gonna be kicked off.
Right? Yeah, exactly. Well, that's true. What say you on all that movie Rex and such?
Well, like what I've seen.
Yeah.
It's called Barbarian.
Oh, my buddy was talking about it. Yeah.
Dude, highly recommend, bro. The reason it was so good is because it's so simplistic in concept. It's like, it's universal, could happen to anyone. You show up at an Airbnb, it was double booked. And then this guy is already staying there and the neighborhood's dangerous. So the girl has to figure out, do I go in or do I stay out in this like dangerous area? All the hotels are booked up. And shit hits the fan.
Okay, enough said. Thank you.
That's it, bro. Yeah. And I'm literally not ruining anything.
Yeah, yeah. He kind of told me the same basic thing. I want to see it for sure.
The set design by itself is unreal. Like what's in the house. That's all I'm gonna say. Nothing else. It's fucking dope.
Too much set design. I can't know that it's good.
It's with the actor who was in the It movies who played the clown.
Skarsgård.
Yeah.
I keep up. Yeah, sure.
Actor, you're an actor. There you go.
Acting stuff. Dude, fun talks. Great stuff.
Cool. Yo, do you want to skip our usual times like what, Monday?
Yeah.
You want to wait till next week, get back on track, or what do you think?
Let's see where we're at tomorrow, I suppose. I mean, maybe that doesn't make that much sense on way if we release it, but then again, like we can kind of do whatever we want. You want to touch base tomorrow?
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah, sounds good, buddy.
All right, brother. Enjoy your Sunday.
You too, brother. Peace.